Good afternoon, and welcome to the Voice of Wisdom. With over 60 years of experience as an investment banker, entrepreneur, investment analyst, economist, and venture capitalist, Morty Davis is Wall Street and venture capitalism personified. The over 400 companies for which he has raised more than $3 billion over the years have created a countless number of jobs and exciting new products. Through the Voice of Wisdom, Mr. Davis explores, analyzes, and debates the most topical political, economic, and social issues facing our world today. Please join the conversation by dialing 332-263-3300. That's 332-263-3300. Joining Mr. Davis today is Esti Stahler to discuss polarization. And now, Mr. Davis.
Yeah, sorry for the delay in launching today. While I believe I have a great deal of wisdom, I'm really technologically challenged and backward when it comes to electronic, the modern day electronics. So we had to get this set up right. I think we finally have it. Anyway, I want to welcome all my cherished listeners. I love you all, and I appreciate sharing my wisdom with you, and hopefully you'll share your wisdom with me, whether you agree or disagree. Hopefully we can all make progress, learn new things, and be entertained at the same time as we might even have some I don't want to say fights, but knockdown dragouts. Anyway, today I want to follow up our discussion of last week with Rabbi David Seideman. The response was very positive. People loved him, and hopefully they appreciated some of what I had to contribute. And so I want to explain the concept of polarization so we're all clear about what we're talking about. And I have joining me tonight Esti Stahler, whose wisdom is beyond compare. She's my oldest daughter of four daughters, and she's fun and hopefully will enhance the 1 hour significantly. Anyway, you all are aware at some level of the polarization that exists. In fact, it's breaking up friendships and families because of the extreme right, or even on the far right, and some people on the extreme left or the far left. Among the subjects that propels and induces this tremendous disagreement between not only people that are together, and people maybe joining dinner together or being his traditionally good friends, suddenly are set off when you bring up some subject that they feel strongly about and you feel strongly about, and you both take offense at what the other person's saying, or insist that they're bottom rung of society, that attending college, and the large number of young people that are saddled with enormous debt that they that they incur from their expenditures paying for college. So hopefully tonight we can find a way to reduce the division and the polarization between our you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Far different views that we get emotional about, and we can agree to disagree without breaking up. Even within my own family, they're angry at me at some of the views I've developed over time. I'm angry at them that they don't understand where I'm coming from and what I'm talking about. So let's get started. So specifically, what do we disagree about? Education, for example. Education for the wealthy, they have no problem paying for their child's college education, and are not, and their children are not strapped with tremendous debt even before they start working in the real world. And those without the resources, the family resources, they're burdened with the debt even before they start their careers. And with respect to the importance of the college education, getting the college education, paying for it, and surviving the consequences of having to pay for what is today outrageously expensive and overwhelming for young people, and that are burdened with this major burden around their neck at the very instant that they're launching their career and need a clear mind so they can make progress in their careers. And without a college education, because they don't necessarily need to go to college, without a college education, we now know that their ability to move up in the world and earn significant, meaningful, decent wages is just sets them on the same road as their deprived parents, because they can't move up. They usually can't even get a decent job to start with. So how do we deal with that? So some people say, well, they have to do what they have to do. There are Pell Grants and there are other loans available, so that's the way it is. The people that did better in life do have advantages. But these are lifetime advantages they enjoy, as opposed to the lifetime disadvantage that those at the bottom rung, the bottom segment, endure. So my view is we're a wealthy enough country to pay to make college free for those that have the grades that will do well in college, or to have training for careers other than college. There are lots of careers that pay well that society needs, including electricians, plumbers, nurses, so many. I mean, when something goes wrong in your house, you need somebody with the technical skills more than you might need a doctor at that juncture. So we can have vocational schools that give the equivalent of a college degree in these various talents. So and I say that we're wealthy enough to pay because there are many countries, advanced countries, that are today paying for their students, for their young people's college education, and relieve them of the burden of the ongoing debt that they have to pay back before they even keep much of their salary. So that's for education. We got to make a more equal, not equal, because we're not trying to do what the communists did. From each according to his ability, to each according to his, from each according to his ability, to each according to his needs, to each from each according to his ability and work contribution. But they want to level. Communism wants to level everybody, and that kills incentives. And we know that capitalism is the best form of running a country and a government and an economic system. So, since most of the countries with the greatest amount of happiness, because happiness is one that is something that's measured every year or every several years for all the advanced countries and some of the less advanced countries. So the ones that are considered happiest, surprisingly or not surprisingly, are the Nordic countries, the Swedes, the Denmark, Finland, the ones that literally take care of their people without being communist. They provide for a college education. They provide universal health care for every citizen, and so many other things that subsidies for those at the very bottom rung, whether it's food stamps or just food outlets that make food available to those at the poverty level. There's ways to make your people happy. The United States, being the wealthiest country, you'd think we should be the happiest as well. And what do you call? We're not even as high as Israel. Israel's number 10, and the United States, in the last evaluation, was number 16. So there's clearly better ways to deal with it, and without saying, as some people malign what I'm suggesting as being socialism or communism, that's nonsense, because the Chinese are called communist country, but they have more billionaires than the United States. Karl Marx would turn over in his grave if he thought the Chinese were practicing communism. In China, they adopted the best of what we have. It's a form of capitalism that lets people become very wealthy and nevertheless looks to take care of all their people with employment, with anything that's possible to make them a more decent life. Maybe they haven't achieved that yet, but at least they're striving to imitate the United States in its positive economic behavior. Then there's climate change. A lot of people feel, why worry about something like climate change, the weather, or the consequences of the weather, or what's going to happen to our part of our countries near the water that are exposed to the water, that may lose part of their country or even lose entire islands. Esti, do you want to add something? I'm sorry. Esti, come in. I put, apparently we put my daughter, who's very brilliant, on silencer. So, Esti, Esti, are you there?
You're not hearing it. I hear me. Hello?
Yeah, you're on.
Can you
Good.
hear me?
Yeah, I hear you well.
I'm very excited to be on. I was supposed to be, what they say, children should be heard and not seen, or maybe seen and not heard. So initially I was going to be on, and you were going to see me, but maybe with the introduction about families, God, and disagreeing, maybe they don't want anyone to recognize me. So I guess the plan is I just give my, and nobody will ever know, even though I tend to wear very bright, colorful clothes, so they might spot me anyway. I agree with everything you say, but I also disagree. As the famous rabbi once said, you're right and you're also right. You're both right. What I'm finding is that we do in America, as you say, give the right to school and to education and privileges, and it's probably either the best country to live in or one of the best. And yet there are many people who don't appreciate what they have, want more handouts, want things given to them without working. I think college is free to those who need it, but it seems that the ones who really work hard to get in have to pay. I think that people don't really appreciate what's given to them for free in a way, and more people are just making demands without coming through and doing for the country. Who is that famous president who said, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country?
John Kennedy.
Smart guy.
Esti, John Kennedy.
So what? I know it was John Kennedy, but I'm just saying that people want to forget things like that. The only thing they remember is the airport, JFK. But what really bothers me is that people keep bad-mouthing this country, keep putting it down, keep complaining. A country that is so liberal and free. There was a famous rabbi who you knew very well, Rabbi Freifeld, and he said, we cannot be so open-minded that our brains fall out. And it seems like people's brains are falling out because we give, we ask nothing in return, and yet people rob and steal and kill and complain and want more rights and more moving in a direction that nothing has to be earned, everything has to be demanded. What do you feel about that?
I think that's exaggerated in a major way. There are people that are, there are definitely people that are taking advantage of the various available resources that government makes available to the truly needy. And that we should never deprive the people that haven't, that are disabled, that are, born with terrible limitations, with women that are left by their husbands and have to work and have no child care. So we have to do something to make all our people, help all our people to live decent lives, not to make them, rich or live tremendously lucrative lives, but to live a decent life and earn a decent wage. And we talk about, we complain. The ones that complain the most are the wealthiest people, that people aren't working and getting paid. And that's overdone, it's exaggerated, and if anything, the subsidies paid to major corporations, to banks, to oil companies, far exceeds anything that we offer to the poor. And every system that even the ones that work best, always have people that will take advantage and abuse the system for their own selfish benefits. But the subsidies that we provide the poor are not overwhelming and are fair, and we're wealthy enough. Why can these other countries that are not nearly as well off as we are able to provide these such things as child care, so a single mother can go to work and have a child or children taken care of. They offer so many other benefits that make life reasonable, even for those in the most awkward and difficult positions. Got it?
Well, I must say, you really enlightened me on that. I think that's very, I know you worked your way up from rags to riches, so to speak, and you never asked for anything, and yet, you're happy. I know even to this day, when you see a waiter, you overtip them because you know that you work so hard, and you really do appreciate the hard work that people do. So I appreciate that, and I'm amazed that you really feel that this country is treating people fairly, because sometimes I feel that they're probably leaning over backwards sometimes to take it to help the disadvantage. But you're right. Whatever they give to the poor people does not measure up to what the big companies are able to demand through lobbying or through exerting pressure. But let me ask you, I know there's a lot right with the country. How can we fix some of the things that are wrong with the country? How can we change this attitude, this negative attitude that people have about the country, and that people are not appreciating what they do have?
We have to change our values. First of all, as to college and my success, I went to college in 1950, a long, long time ago, and I was able to go to college for free. Brooklyn College charged no commission, no tuition for people that had a decent grade. So it was a different time, and even those that had to pay, the amount you paid was rather minor, very, compared to today, relatively small. Even though people didn't have money, they could perhaps afford to set aside enough money to send their kid to college. In terms of what you just asked, what can we do to change? We have to all agree on a set of values, and instead of accusing each other of exploiting the system, we have to do something that our forefathers, in their wisdom and their insightfulness, said we should work to make this a more perfect union and provide for our people, all our people, to enjoy life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Not necessarily what's involved, life, liberty, and the maximization of profitability. We should, corporations should seek to pay decent wages. There was a fellow named Dan Price some years ago who announced that he's going to pay his employees a minimum of $70,000 a year. That's going to be the minimum wage. Everybody said he was crazy, but he won such loyalty and such productivity from his employees, even though he took a major pay cut himself. It turned out to be a very smart decision. Another.
I think all those things are great ideas, but it seems that today, or maybe this is the product of a very liberal society or Corona, that people don't even want to work. Even when you pay them, they don't want to work. People are staying home more. It's causing prices to rise. There's no people don't want to be truckers, and they don't want to do shipping, and they don't want to work in stores. There's a shortage of waiters. It seems that people want a good life and yet don't want to work for it. That's what I'm afraid is happening. I agree with you. The pursuit of life, liberty, and And happiness is, liberty has changed. Liberty means I can go out on the street and do whatever I want, or I can pass boundaries. You know, they've taken away, liberty doesn't mean that you step over certain boundaries, and it doesn't mean that you're supposed to hurt other people, that I find. So the two problems I'm finding is liberty, and that people don't want to pursue it. They want it to come to them. They don't want to work for it. Yes, I agree. You have to have minimum wages, but then it's hurting, you know, and it has to be fair. But then what happens to the storekeeper who goes out of business because he can't pay the minimum wage, or to the person who is out of business because the big companies, Walmart or Amazon, now just puts them out. And then bottom line is that most people don't even want to work. You used to say, as president of the company, there's more room at the top than at the bottom because nobody wants to put that much in. They'd rather be out speech. So I'm finding that even if you pay, and even if you pay people, that it's not worth it. They make sometimes more with unemployment or with taking it easy, and they get so much. So, and also I think, like you said, the most important is that everyone respect each other's opinion and each other's rights. But that seems to be deteriorating, and I don't want to. I feel like you. We have to make it a better country, but are people willing to? Are people just saying, you know, like a carcass that they feel is not rotting, they're going to just run, and every man for himself. It changed from every man for the country to every man for himself.
Esti, you're pointing to a major reason for the problem, because those that have it and are doing well see no problem for the poor or the less well paid. Everybody wants to work if they can get a job that gives them a decent wage and a decent lifestyle. Unfortunately, those jobs are not available. We pay too little. The minimum wage that prevails is hardly enough to take care of a husband and wife, much less a family, to pay rent, buy food, pay for utilities, if they need a car to get to work. All these things cost money, and it's not true that people don't want to work. They can't afford to work for the wages that's paid, and notwithstanding that, we only have 3.4% unemployment and many jobs available. If they just pay a decent wage, we'd get almost all of the people to work. We have no training program for the young. When I used to go for a job before I had any experience, they said, "Oh, yeah, you're a good guy. We'd like to have you, but go out and get some experience first." So you need experience. It's a catch-22. You need experience to get a job, but you can't get a job that gives you experience because nobody will hire you till you have experience, particularly if you're just out of high school and have zero college education. That's the big advantage of the wealthy. Their kids get to college and college degrees, and it's relatively easy for them to start at a decent wage and a decent paying jobs. So the values we have are capitalistic, but it's gone to a degree where greed overwhelms concern for your fellow man. And it used to be, when I was younger and for many years thereafter, the average CEO, chief executive of a major corporation, was making something like 20 times the average employee that worked for him. Today, the average CEO of these major corporations is making 200, 300, and even more times what their employees are making. And so they think that's the right thing and that's fair, without taking care of the people that help them achieve their success. They say, well, these guys in Russia, the people that have all this money, we call them oligarchs. And in the United States, the people that create all these they say they create all these jobs. We call them job creators, capitalists. That's nonsense. They create jobs only because the masses have the money to buy their products. If they're not, if Ford was the first one that realized, he started to pay $5 a day to his employees, and all of his competitors and everybody in manufacturing said, "You're going to ruin the economy. You can't pay that much." And he said, "I have to pay that much so they can buy my cars." And that's the truth. The rich have a lot of money, but they don't create jobs when there's no demand. So you have to give demand to the masses to get jobs. And another thing, we shouldn't have tariffs against China and other countries, because they provide so much of what we can use and the poorest people need at Walmart, at Target, at Home Depot, at dollar stores. If those products were not available from China and other less developed countries, the cost of living of those at the lowest level would be 4 or 5 times of what it is or was today. The reason we have inflation is because we stopped allowing products to come in from China without a major tariff, which our consumers, our American consumers pay, because it's added to the price of what they charge at Walmart and these other entities. So.
Do you think that oh, sorry. You make some very good points, but lately I guess I'm focusing more on the recent past. You know, the corona, people are saying that all the prices are going up, and that's inflation, and it's causing. Let me ask you, you said your college degree, you got it, and you worked for it, and you went for free. I think there are certain colleges, I think what people are feeling, which I think you're expressing, is the poorest people, let's call them the poorest, or the lowest on the financial run, get subsidies and they get welfare and they get food stamps. And then the people in the highest rungs don't have to worry. It's the middle class that seems to be suffering, and they are willing to work hard. So you're saying that in some ways they're working hard, but they're not being receiving a good wage for it, or they're not making enough for all their hard work, so they're sort of caught in the middle. They're not poor enough to get the subsidies and the food stamps and whatever other benefits are provided by government, and they're not earning enough. And they're the ones who sometimes have the children who have to, the tuitions are so high. I know a lot of people, my friends who are sending kids to college, are saying that a lot of their salaries are going to go pay for $25,000 or $35,000 or $50,000 a year that colleges provide. And if they, I want to know who's keeping that money. Is it the professor? Not the professors. It's not the college. Who gets all that money from the colleges if they're paying such high tuitions? And do you think that is that what you're saying, that those colleges should be more reasonably priced?
Esther, you were lucky to be brought up by somebody who was capable or lucky enough to make it. I worked very hard and day and night, literally, to help make a great life. You never had to worry for money or the cost of college or the cost of anything. So thank God you're not overly spoiled, even though I provided.
That's why I'm saying we are very big givers. The one thing about Judaism, or one of the great things, is they look out for each other. And I'm sure there are some of the companies have charitable donations. And this is the one country, I don't know about others, that do charitable donations. You know, if you get a deduction. And I really think, like, people, they said, I've read recently an article that says, way back, no matter where there was a city that had Jewish people or people that cared, there were always different funds set up for charity, for food, for clothing. And I think that is one of the things, I guess they call it the Judeo-Christian ethic, that we do all believe it, to take care of our brothers, to provide for them. And I think America was created with that credo, with that concept, because many of the founding fathers had a let's call it, as I said, the Judeo-Christian belief of providing for others, of taking care of our brothers. And I know in most cities, the Jewish cities, and I'm sure in others, there are food trains and there are clothing. And if someone has a baby, they provide food. And if somebody needs a loan,
Esti, sorry to interrupt.
So I think
Esti,
shows this,
Esti,
and I'm not talking about our family, I'm talking about other families,
Esti,
where in general the middle class, according
Esti,
to the United States,
Esti, I have to
doesn't
stop.
more than the lower or the upper.
Esti, I have to stop you because Mary Jo has been on the phone for like 10 minutes waiting
Fine.
to talk to us. But before I take her call, I just want to say the well-fed, it's hard for the well-fed to appreciate the those that are in poverty and can't even afford to buy enough food for themselves and their children.
Right, but but many well-fed, and I'll start with Ashley. The first thing
Esti,
and whatever they have, they share. But
Esti,
saying that, I'm so proud of you, and I'm so proud of the value
Esti,
you gave us to teach us to give and to look out.
Esti,
let Mary Jane have a turn.
Esti, you can stay on while Mary Jo. I take Mary Jo's call. Mary Jo.
Thank you.
Mary Jo, you're on. Are you still there?
Hello.
Oh,
Yes.
hello.
Yes, this is Mary Underhill.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to say something about student debt because you were talking about it and
About student debt.
So many students for so long as they're trying to get out from under student debt, from going to college and trying to go to graduate school.
Yes. Mary Jo. Hello? Did we lose Mary Jo?
I'm sorry, is this what you were talking about earlier?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Hello. You did not hear what I just said a minute ago, right?
I heard you, but I don't know if I heard everything. Go ahead.
I was just talking about student debt,
right,
and how crippling it is for so many children as they've been trying to go to school and graduate school and trying to get out and make a living, and then they're overcome with this debt that follows them for years until it can get paid off. I think the Biden administration is trying to do something like this.
Yeah, exactly. So that is a major problem. It's throughout. The inequality is getting worse and worse with time, and to tell you the consequences of that, every country that's ever had Mary Jo, every country that's ever had major inequality has always turned. It's hurt the wealthy the most because the system was overthrown. Because technology is amazing. I get to hear what I said 5 minutes ago. It sends me my echo. But the wealthy have to realize, including the wealthy people like me, that if we keep... Why is this happening?
She's with somebody.
What?
It's on her end.
It's at her end?
Yeah, she's with somebody.
No, it's my voice that's coming back to me. That's me talking. That's not anybody else. That's me. That's just what I said. Anyway, our system has gone a little haywire, so I apologize. But let me repeat. Hang up on Mary Jo, please. Maybe if you hang up on Mary Jo. I'm sorry to hang up on you, Mary Jo, but our system's gone haywire. Okay? Every country that's ever had major inequality after a period of time has been overthrown, and the wealthy were hurt the most, whether it's in Central America, South America, particularly the best example of that is France during the Revolution, the French Revolution, when people were so angry and so upset with the government, and somebody told Marie Antoinette, the people don't have money to buy bread. So she, in her kindness as one of the aristocrats who could afford anything, said, they can't afford bread, let them eat cake. And that led to the French Revolution, because there was no appreciation of taking care of the peasants. The owners kept everything and handed out minuscule amounts of livability to their citizens. So the same thing's going to happen ultimately in this country if we keep having the tremendous growth of the income and the assets of the wealthiest, and an ever-diminishing quality of life for those at the bottom. The middle class usually disappears, and the system is overthrown. So the wealthy should care more than anybody because they have the most at risk. The poor are no worse off after the revolution because they were doing terrible before the revolution, and they're still doing terrible. But hopefully it'll induce the leaders of the country and the wealthiest members, if they weren't killed in the revolution, to change their behavior. It's outright totally unfair for a system like the United States, for so many people not to have adequate health care. The average American, not the average, about 40% of the Americans today, if they get a surprising medical bill that they have to co-pay or pay themselves for more than $500, are literally in bankruptcy and are stuck without money to pay for food. So we have to change that equation. We have to care for each other. We have to look after each other, not support each other, but support the efforts for all of us to be better. The poor have to work harder to get where I got, because I worked very hard. I worked 6 days a week, plus part of the other day, and didn't stop working till I really, even till this day, at my advanced stage, I'm working as hard as I ever did. And in terms of climate change, the poorest people suffer the most. Their kids suffer asthma, and all from the pollution that the wealthy induce on the rest of us through the toxic fossil fuels, where they make so much. It's sinful how much money the Saudi Arabians are taking from us. It costs them about $15 a barrel, $20 a barrel the most, to bring the barrel of oil out of the earth. And they're now getting recently up to $125 a barrel. And even now, they're still at $90 and starting to move up again. $90 a barrel when it costs $20 to take it out of the ground. There are other treatments that it has to get that add about another $5 or such to it, and transportation. So maybe it costs them $30 all in. And the American companies as well, maybe they don't get it out at $15 or $20 a barrel like the Saudis, but they get it out of Texas at maybe $30 $30 or $40 a barrel the most. They made profits when oil was $20 a barrel. So clearly they don't need $90, $100. They're exploiting the people who. It's not that they can get along without gasoline. It's an inelastic demand, they call it in economics. It's things that you can't do without. So you can't do without food. You can't do without gasoline to drive your car if you got to get to work. So we have to be cognizant of that and make sure that we deal with the fossil fuel issue, with the pollution and the carbon that enters our air and brings so much adverse consequences. It's like just to show you one terrible example. For years, the tobacco companies hired scientists who said cigarettes caused no problems. They don't see any problems with cigarettes. In fact, it relaxes people, so it may be even helpful to them. Until they had to, stop that bull and start to deal with it. They even resented having to eliminate advertising to kids and so forth. But they were doing this, the leaders, the presidents of these companies were doing this while they watched their own children pick up smoking habits and addiction because they cared more about profits than they did about their very own children. So that's only one instance of it. I can give you tens and hundreds of instances that indicate that profits and the desire for profits overwhelms the desire to help our fellow man, our fellow countrymen. Esther, you want to comment on that, or should I just carry on?
Of course, I want to comment. I want to say that you are a caring person who really worked hard, and you still want other people to be able to take care of. And I agree with a lot of what you say, because it's not always easy. People work hard and people achieve, and then other people don't have the opportunity. So I'm very impressed with everything you said. I think you have your heart in the right place, really good heart and good ideas. And now, as they say, we just have to get the rest of the world to agree and to see the light.
Look, I created thousands of jobs over my career, thousands, tens of thousands of jobs. But I didn't do it primarily or even overwhelmingly from the goodness of my heart.
I remember.
From the goodness.
I have to disagree with you. I think somebody rewrote history, because the one thing you said when we said, Dad, why are you working so hard? You said, I don't even care if I don't make money, but I'm so proud that I'm creating jobs, that I'm coming up with health care, that I'm making America a better place to live. And you wrote a book, which we didn't even look at, Making America Work Again, because you want the people to get back. And the one philosophy that I always grew up with was teachers should be, that it's in reverse order. Teachers should be the highest paid, not the actors or actresses, because they're the ones who create the future. So all the values that you espoused your whole life, you actually lived and you believe it. So you don't have to, I think you happen to be one of the heroes. You happen to be one of the people who achieved and yet wants to see other people achieve. I know when I would talk to you about someone else's successful company, you say, I'm happy for that person. You are always happy for other people doing well. You're always happy for people to rise and to reach the top, or to do well, even if it was in competition with yourself. So I'm saying these are the values that you live. These are values, not like a sudden awakening. I think when you were poor, you gave money, you gave charity, and then when you achieved success, you gave charity. So these were values that are ingrained in you and that you passed on to all of us by modeling it, by showing us, both you and my mommy, we're blessed to have parents who really lived it. You didn't start giving when you were rich, you gave when you were poor. I remember the story where you said you drove someone, you had that station wagon and you were able to take them That was how you made money in the summer. You would transport their furniture or their, not even furniture, their bags back and forth to the country. And then you went up to someone, you carried the lady's bags up to her apartment, and Mommy said, how did you, how much did you give you? You say, well, she didn't really give me. Not only did she not give me, but I gave her money because I thought she didn't have food and she didn't have anything. So you've been living the life of giving for others,
Well,
and
Esti,
for doing for others. And I really quote you when I say that you did create jobs in your
Esti,
you could have done more. I don't know.
Esti Stahler, in fairness, I was brought up during the Depression, and we were close to poverty. We never lacked enough food, thankfully, but I understood how the masses suffer and go through very difficult periods throughout their lives or at some part of their lives. But most of my contemporary capitalists who work to make a lot of money don't create jobs because of caring or because of generosity. It's because they want to make more and more money. For what? And also they use their money to get the benefits of our system, because we have crony capitalism. The wealthy make the donations, are the donors to the people that run for office, whether it's the president or the Congress, House of Representatives, or the governors, or the United States Senate. And so while the people overwhelmingly, polls show overwhelmingly are in favor of gun control, or maybe even universal health care, or some favorable treatment for people to go to college, that's not what inspires these legislatures to legislate the bills they enact. It's the donors that tell them, you want to get donations the next time you run, you want my backing next time you run, and they ask for things that benefit them. So even though we're a democracy, supposedly the majority rules, it's that minority that rules and determines the direction of the country. That's very, very sad. So anyway, Joanne is back. So Joanne, sorry to keep you. Joanne, are you back?
Well, this is Mary Jo.
Mary Jo.
Is that who you're right?
I'm sorry, Mary Jo.
This is Mary Jo. Well, and then we were going to talk about the divisions in this country too, and what's causing them, and is there any way to get past the divisions in this country? The Democrats will sponsor something like a view on climate change, which is probably the most important topic that we need to be discussing and solving. And then from the Republicans, you get no recognition that there is any problem with our climate, that we're not going to be fossil fueled out of existence at some point. This is something that bothers me and really angers me, is sometimes the divisions in our country like this, not accepting reality of what we really are going through.
Mary Jo, I think you're going to have to come back next week. The show is only an hour, so this is a real cliffhanger. What's going to be? And I think you both have brought up such amazing points that we're going to have to wait. I'm going to wait with bated breath for next Wednesday to hear some of the solutions, which I think the two of you maybe will come up with. So it's a pleasure and an honor to be on this show tonight, and I look forward to next week.
What time is it? Okay, I guess.
Good night to all of you. It was a pleasure to be heard at one from this time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary Jo. Have a great week, and you all have a great week. Thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to talking with you next Wednesday at 6:30. You can watch this program or any other past program. I think we sent the link, so if you care to watch any, please do. And tell your friends about it. Tell them to call and give me a hard time, whatever.
Yes, we will call back next weekend and maybe talk more about the divisions in the country.
Thank
And
you.
hopefully by next week we'll solve everything. We'll all be one happy family.
Thank
All
you.
right. Okay.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
Mary.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Mary Jo, is it? Marriage to Joe. Thank you, Mary Jo. And thank you all. Have a good night and a wonderful week. Bye.